You know, buying a used Tesla is like buying the perfect cup of coffee on a really cold day, only to find out it's really, really hot and you just can't drink it. Sometimes you really should just think about what you're going to do before you do it. That's what today's video is about, and let's get right into it. Like I said, a great cup of coffee. It doesn't mean that I don't love this coffee. It's very simply put, too damn hot. Like many things in life, we want it. We obviously desire it. It's early morning, it's cold outside, and I want my coffee. Well, that's how a lot of people approach their Teslas too. They would love to have their coffee, they would love to have their Tesla. If you want a Tesla and you're looking at buying a used Tesla, you do have to be a little bit more aware. You have to be aware of, well, 1,000 different things before you go out and spend that particular amount of money that you're going to be paying. And these days, Teslas demand a premium. Of course, that's not a bad thing. But just like a warm cup of coffee, there's a price that comes with it if you don't actually take your time and think about it. Let's talk about this. First and foremost, it's really, really important to understand that it's still a vehicle. I understand. It's an electric vehicle, it's a Tesla, and a lot of you out there are really, really keen on getting in there, start driving it, and have fun with it. Wow. Okay, so here we are. You are in a process of going out there and saying, hey, I found Tesla. I looked it up. Maybe somebody's selling it. Maybe you found it as used inventory. But if you're not buying it directly from Tesla, you don't really have much to go on. More often than not, the most common misconceptions are going to be things such as, well, what's included with your car? What kind of packages are in your car? Which version MCU is it? Well, for a lot of the older Model S's and Model X's, key thing to look for is MCU 1 or MCU 2. I really do recommend getting MCU 2. That being said, just because your vehicle that you're looking to potentially buy has MCU 1, it doesn't mean you cannot upgrade the vehicle to an MCU 2 car. Well, what are some of the big differences? I'm going to give you guys the very basics. Stay the heck away from MCU 1. MCU 2 is the best way to go. I think one of the key things that I see a lot of people making mistakes, they don't look at the person who actually used the car. So if you're the kind of person who is just going to go out there and take everybody's word for what they're saying, you're going to be in trouble with Teslas. The first and foremost thing that you got to look at is, how has that car been driven? If it's been driven with a lot of passion and a lot of love and just constant, punching it and going, it's going to have a little bit of an effect on the actual battery, including the drivetrain, motors possibly. This is something you really should get checked out by Tesla before you decide to go out and dish out all the money you're going to be asking for. Well, they're going to be asking for. And the importance here comes in kind of twofold. If your battery pack has been severely overused, let's say charged up to 100% and always dropped down to 2%, your degradation on the battery becomes a slight bit of a problem. However, a lot of people can manipulate the information just by driving really well for a little bit, and then the data kind of shows a little bit different things. So there is ways to manipulate that. Best way to do is request a battery health check from the person who's selling it. This is something that they can go to Tesla, get a battery health check, and you'll be fine. This way, at least you know what you're getting yourself into. When people drive either Teslas or ICE cars, it doesn't matter. One of the key things they do is, well, I call them the Sunday drivers, the regular drivers, or the passionate drivers. The Sunday drivers are the ones who very rarely actually use the car, and this is something you can tell obviously by looking at the mileage. So let's say you're buying a 5-year-old Tesla and it has very low mileage on it. Obviously hasn't been driven that much. It doesn't mean it hasn't been driven passionately, but it hasn't been driven that much. Somebody obviously bought the car but hasn't really put much thought into it. The everyday driver is the ones where the mileage kind of makes sense based on, let's say, their occupation. So if you find out what their occupation is, how much they travel, are they doing mostly highway, are they doing mostly city, you're going to find out if the mileage makes sense to the time that they've owned the car. Keep in mind that most Tesla owners are very, very, very passionate about their cars. Hence, they drive it a lot, a great deal. Most Tesla owners put in a heck of a lot of mileage compared to ICE vehicle owners. That has a lot to do with the fact that it's something new. They find it very obviously easy with a supercharging network just to go on road trips. And most people, that's what they do. They buy a Tesla and they're out. They're going on road trips. So you have to kind of think about that as well. Now, the passionate drivers are the ones you have to kind of worry about. These are people who buy their cars and they go insane. You know, if you got ludicrous mode, obviously they're going to be doing launches all the time. Kind of find out, if you can, what is the state of charge. Where do they normally charge? Do they always charge up to 100%? You know, kind of sneak your questions properly into, I guess, the conversation. So just ask them, hey, you know, should I be charging up to this to like 100%? And if I do, how much mileage will I get? If they come back and say, well, you know what, I've never really charged my car to 100% or on very rare occasions, that's actually a good sign. You can also ask, my God, how low can you go before you run out of charge and you have to worry? And again, if they tell you right up front, yeah, you should never really go below 20%. You know, maybe I've gone less than 20% a couple of times. Again, that's a good sign. But if they tell you stuff like, oh yeah, just punch it up, it's not a problem, you know, use the 100% charge, you know, you can go down to 2%, 3%, no problem, it's all good, blah, blah, blah. Those are all red flags. Keep in mind, with Teslas, it's not that bad. Overall, the cars are very, very well designed when it comes to battery pack and the motors. You shouldn't have a problem, but passionate drivers can really, really force these, well, passionate anything can take things to an extreme. Damn, still too damn hot. You think of it this way. If somebody's using something because they love it and they use it to its fullest extremes, that's the most likely time to break things. Most things designed today, be it a car, be it a computer, be it whatever, they're not meant to be overused. They're not meant to be severely used. All the stats, all the information is always going to be based on regular average use. So regular average use, basically think of it like your mother, your father, your uncle, your cousin, you know, somebody who has a regular lifestyle, and how would they drive that vehicle? That's the way to look at it. If the person you're buying the vehicle from is much more chill, much more calm, they're not crazy, and they're definitely not overly passionate about their car as far as the driving aspect, and how, you know, somebody tells you they've been doing 0 to 60 pulls pretty much every time they leave a green light, you know, that's something that you have to be, again, concerned about. Once again, there's a lot of pressure on the motors and there's a lot of pressure on the battery if you don't take care of them. It's kind of an important thing. So if you're going to go out there and buy a used Tesla, key things to look for is obviously the type of driver that you're buying the car from. Walk around the car, make sure that everything's kind of okay. Make sure that the car, it has an alignment. Most people don't ask this question. I highly recommend asking, when was the last time your vehicle had a wheel alignment? Wheel alignments can really make or break a lot of parts on a vehicle. It is more crucial than most people would like to admit, more crucial than most people ever even think about. Getting a proper wheel alignment done every, I would say, year to 2 years is kind of important. Take a look at the tires. It's a dead giveaway what kind of drivers they are. It is something that, best way to do it is take a look at yourself, take a look at your tires, do a little comparison. You can go into a whole ton of research in figuring out what you should be looking for, and we're not going to get into that in this video because it's going to get way too long. But the tires typically say a lot about the drivers and the type of drivers they are. Take a look at the tires, take a look at the body. Most people tell you that they are more highway, you know, their vehicle has been more highway driven. More often than not, we'll have some kind of rock chips in the front. It's just unavoidable. It doesn't matter what you do, rock chips will happen on highways. It's pretty much that simple. City driving, not as much. Again, it's kind of little things that you guys can look at. As for price, now this is where the problem comes with all Teslas. Because there's such a high demand, there's such a huge waiting period, There is obviously a premium that people put on their vehicles. It's in demand. Everybody wants it. They can get it today. So if you want it today, you don't want to wait 6 months to 8 months, in some cases even a year. Then, and the seller knows that, well, the seller can put a premium on their price, on their vehicle, right? Premium price. And of course, if you're going to go out there and pay for it, you basically bought a car that's already, I guess, overvalued compared to, let's say, what the market should be. Does that mean you can't turn around and still sell it for a profit later on? Well, realistically, you should never look at vehicles as any type of an investment unless it's a collector vehicle, in very rare occasions. When you're buying your Tesla, when you're thinking about buying your Tesla, look at the price very carefully, shop around, and be patient. The more patient you are, the better price you're going to get, and overall, you're just going to be much, much happier with your purchase. Should you buy a used Tesla? The answer is absolutely. Should you be smart about buying a used Tesla? Yes, you really, really should be. But as long as you're cautious about who you're buying from, you should be fine. Understanding the seller is kind of an important thing here. If the seller abused the car, doesn't matter if it's a Tesla, it doesn't matter if it's a nice car. If the seller abused the car, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and that can become extremely expensive. Always do your research, not just on the car, not just on what's included with the car, but also find out, well, how that driver basically drove that car. Again, if they're doing launches all the time and they're bragging about, man, I'm killing Corvettes, I'm killing this, I'm killing that, they're all, it's always faster than every other car. You're right, they're not wrong, but the way that they would know that is by actually pulling those stunts, right? Constant drag racing these cars, I don't recommend it. I've had my car for just under 4 years, and I've done pulls with them, but I've never really gotten to the extreme where it has become a regular part of my life. It's just not the way I want to do that. That all being said, key things. Remember the MCU. The MCU does help if you're in a Model S or X. If you're looking at buying a Model 3, Model Y, well, I would recommend you guys take a very close look at the build, when it was built, what comes with the car. Some Model 3, some Model Ys have the ability for upgrades, such as, let's say, rear heated seats. Just because the current owner chose not to pay for that option, it doesn't mean that your vehicle doesn't have it. What I would do is, again, find out the information about that particular car you're looking to buy. It might actually have additional options that you can unlock basically after purchase. So there's that. Better. Do your research. I hate to say this, but most people who are going out there to buy Teslas simply don't do their research. They don't look at the cars, the model year, what people have to say about it, and more specifically, do your research from Tesla owners. YouTubers, I think, tend to have a lot of information, but not necessarily direct information. Let's say for me as an example, I can talk about Model 3, Model Y. I have driven them, I've definitely experienced them, but I do not own it as a day-to-day vehicle. You're asking me about a Model S, well, that's what I drive. I can tell you more about the Model S. That is really, really important. Getting your research from people that actually genuinely own that car. Well, how you're going to do that is actually pretty simple, believe it or not, and that is go to your nearest supercharger. Talk to the owners there. Tesla owners, by and large, this is from personal experience, are amazing people. They have no problem talking to you about their cars. More often than not, they're going to be pretty damn honest about it too. In fact, you might find out a lot of information that you didn't even think about. You want to buy a used Tesla, go out there, talk to the actual owners, but also talk to, I guess, owners who own the same type of vehicle you're looking at buying. So just simply go down to the nearest supercharger, go for a walk, and ask questions. Trust me, Tesla owners are happy to answer questions. That all being said, I wish you guys all good hunting, and really, really hope that at the end it pays off. Yeah, sort of like wasting enough time for the coffee to cool down. If I would have done my research, if I would have thought about this a little bit more, it would have been simple. I would have bought my coffee, I would have made this video first, and then I would have tried to drink it. Simply put, don't just jump into something because you want it. Take your time, put some thought into it, put a little research into it, and you're almost always going to be happy. Just as I am with this nice hot cup of coffee, but not boiling. So, enjoy. Happy hunting. Gotta love a nice, great cup of coffee. And honestly, not a sponsor, but I do love McDonald's coffee. So if you don't, let me know what kind of coffee you like. All right, catch you in the next video. Till then, drive safe, everyone.